Hi there, I'm Rick Péwé for Gone Jeepin'. We're at the 2024 Colorado Flat Fender Fall Color Tour in Colorado, obviously. And what we have this time is probably one of the most unique vehicles you've ever seen. Yes, it's a Jeep. Yes, it's a CJ-2A. But it's probably something you've never seen. I'm here with my friend, Nils Tellier. He actually lives up in Boulder, but he's originally from Normandy, France.
That's right.
And that's probably one of the most important things about Jeeps. During World War II, of course, the U.S. and other Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy and went through the town of Caen on their way to eradicate the Nazi scourge. And that's probably where you first found your love of Jeeps, right?
That is correct, yes.
How'd that come about?
Well, my great-uncle Daniel was holding the family ranch during German occupation, knocked down a German soldier, got gunned down, and helped the American troops after that kick out the Germans. In return, the Americans left 2 Jeeps, U.S. Air Force Jeeps. And so when I was a little kid riding on my great-uncle Daniel's lap, one of the Jeeps going through the apple orchards, he always told me, hey, when you can drive, this will be your Willys.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, that did not happen, but I stuck to it, and eventually, at some point in my life, a little late, but I got me a Willys.
And this is a 1940 what?
1948.
1948 Willys Jeep.
CJ-2A.
CJ-2A. In all respects, it looks like every other Willys Jeep.
That is correct. That is very intentional.
right. So if I walked by this, I wouldn't know what's special about it. But what is the name? What do you call her?
The name is Chick Magnet. The reason is that it's an electric driven, it's got an AC motor on it, so they're a magnet. And Chick Magnet because my wife never refused a ride in it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So would you think this would be electric? I mean, sure, all the rage is all EVs and they cost money and they trash the universe and everything else, but that's not necessarily so. And this one is done a little bit different than everything else. Basically, it's a quarter of a Tesla battery pack?
That is correct.
Okay.
I have 6 Tesla Model S modules to build about 144 volts in it.
144 volts, that's almost just a little more than regular house current.
That's correct, yeah.
Is it AC or DC though?
So the batteries are DC, but I have a controller. It's a SME X144 controller that turns the DC of the batteries into AC going to the motor, or back from the motor to the batteries when I go downhill.
So you have regenerative braking?
Yes, I do.
Wow, so you don't have to charge it all the time?
Less so that, yeah, without regen braking.
But it's regular 110 power to charge it at your house, or do you have a 220?
No, it's a level 2.
Okay.
It's a level 2 charger, so it's 230.
Right, which is like a dryer plug, basically.
Like a dryer plug or a welder or something like that, yeah.
Right. And you built this entire Jeep. It was a pile when you got it, right? It
was a disaster, yes. So it is literally a frame-up rebuilt.
Right.
And the frame itself went to the sandblaster, and getting 72 years of crud out of the channels was a challenge. But
but that's true with any Jeep build.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the same thing. It had a 4-cylinder flathead.
So it had a 4-cylinder flathead, which happened to be working. Actually, that was one of the positive things of the Jeep. It worked and it didn't smoke too much, but once I set my mind on making it electric, then the original engine had to leave. So this Jeep, I found a tag on the engine that it had been rebuilt in 1956 in Greeley, Colorado.
Really? And here we are in Colorado.
Yeah, I traced the address, and of course that disappeared. Now it's a bank building, and the old garage is long gone.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, like I say, it looks normal until you look under the hood, and we'll do that a little bit later. But let me ask you, why did you want an EV?
So, for 2 reasons. The first is that there is an insane amount of torque at low RPM, and this This little Willys is my working girl when I'm doing some, when I'm cutting down trees and hauling slash and four-wheeling on my property to go grab the trees and so on. It's nimble, it goes everywhere. It will not set the grass on fire because of the catalytic converter.
True.
All that stuff. But
yeah, no exhaust.
Exactly. The second reason is that I wanted to prove a concept of battery swapping.
Battery swapping. We swap batteries in these all the time. Our little 24 or our 12-volt battery dies. We go to the store, we get another one, bring it back.
Yeah. So the concept
you wanted it
here
the same way.
Is that I have a 600-pound battery pack that takes about 9 hours to refill from the plug, from the J772 plug, or I can pull the battery out and put another one in and have the Jeep refueled in 10 minutes.
Just like going to the gas station.
Just like going to the gas station.
Got it. So if everybody had the same system,
yeah,
you could drive across the country and, I don't know, 200, 400 miles. You stop at a gas station, whatever you would call
and swap a battery.
Swap a battery,
and keep
quicker
going.
than you could go to the bathroom.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
10 minutes.
So unfortunately, the Jeep will not cover 400 miles on a battery charge.
Not
the
yet.
way I have it set up, not yet. But yeah, the other battery is used for house backup. So once the battery, trickle charges on a stationary charger, but if we have a power outage at the house, the battery will keep feeding the house.
Yep, perfect.
So everything is multi-purposed.
Right.
So I learned that from sailing. Nothing is single-purposed. Anything that's single-purpose goes out.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like
overboard.
A Jeep too.
So,
just like your tools, better be working more than one.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if you have this battery swapping idea, and the whole world does it, then that's obviously a little bit better without having the big cost and infrastructure. But where do I get a battery like this? Let's say I want to duplicate yours. What do I do?
So to get a battery like this, I would recommend a company in California called EV West that sells those used Tesla modules, but tests them.
Aha, rather than at a Rocky Yard or eBay or whatever. Okay, but they're available.
Yeah. They will also provide you with the dilithium battery management system. And they will provide you with all the wiring, documentation, and harnesses to connect the battery management system, also known as BMS, to the battery modules.
Yeah. So again, it's not rocket science.
And then I can provide you either with the drawings on how to package it the way I did it, or I can build you the cradle and the box and everything.
So on your system, you have the battery, and that's by wires, of course, hooked to the electric AC motor, which you have hooked to the stock flathead 4 flywheel and bell housing.
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, the standard T90 3-speed, Dana 18 2-speed transfer case, stock front and rear axles.
Yep.
So from the bell housing forward, it's electric, but you've retained all of the other good stuff
absolutely, behind it. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the legend of the Willys.
Right, and that's why it shifts, it has pedals, has a gas pedal? What do you call it?
Yeah, I call it a gas pedal.
Okay, yeah.
It's the accelerator.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that one works.
But it's truly a four-wheel drive. It has low range. It can climb almost a tree. I mean...
Well, this is interesting. It's 600-pound battery pack, but the stock flathead Go Devil was about 450.
That's correct.
Plus a battery, plus a generator, plus a radiator, and all that other stuff that is gone. So you're pretty right in that same range.
Right. So I guesstimated I'm about 200 pounds over.
Yeah.
But those Jeeps are so rugged, and it's so common to see them with that 150-pound snowplow sticking, 4 feet ahead.
Yeah.
That 200 pounds is no big deal. And in fact, I'm sure two people could stand on the front bumper and the car wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, yeah.
So an unexpected advantage of front loading the weight with that battery pack is that when I go four-wheeling and I go into a ravine, I never get high-centered. I always have my two front wheels touching the ground.
Because of the extra weight.
Yep. And I'll have one rear wheel fly up in the air, but I will take over any ravine, I mean, within reason.
Right. Well, you know, on the original 2As and farm Jeeps, they had a 200-pound weight to put in between the frame rails.
That's right.
Yeah. So you've done the same thing.
Exactly.
That helps increase the front traction.
Yep.
Okay, so the tires, admittedly, they look a little small. Is this because you just wanted to have stockish stuff?
No. So on the front wheels, since I put in an electric motor, it's a net gain Hyper 9 high voltage. It is a 108 horsepower electric motor.
Okay.
Almost twice the power and the torque of the original Go Devil.
Yeah, right.
And so with that, I wanted to put some disc brakes on the front.
Right.
Once I put in the disc brakes, the original wheels, the offset was wrong and they were rubbing against the calipers.
Yeah.
So I had to get some new wheels, and this was done without too much engineering. I had an idea of the range of wheel diameter I wanted, but this is by no means the final, you know, tires or anything like that. I mean, the folks at Discount Tires in Boulder were super helpful in getting me some tires that can do okay off-road.
Yeah.
That can do great on the snow, and that would fit those rims.
Right. And living in Boulder, that's one of your main considerations, a 3-peak rated tire.
Yes.
So you can drive around the snow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, again, I approached the Discount Tire guys saying, help me, and they did. And they got me some very good tires for that matter.
Yeah. No, they work. And again, you do go four-wheeling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're not Arizona rock crawling.
No.
But that's not what it's for either.
It's not what it's for.
But the concept could be.
Oh, absolutely. Again, you get maximum torque at 0 RPM. So you press the gas a little bit, you put your wheel on the rock, and you stop. And you don't have to rev up the engine. You don't have to mess with the clutch.
Right, you just go up.
Press the gas a little more, get the other wheel on the rock.
Right.
It's fantastic for that.
Right. But going down the road, you start without the clutch, but then you shift with the clutch.
You shift with the clutch, yeah.
Right.
It's a 3-speed transmission.
It's regular T90.
Yep.
Right. Which in your application has proven to be strong enough because you don't have 500 horses. You don't have 500 pound-feet of torque.
No.
But it does everything that you need it to do.
Absolutely.
And you've kept everything else, you know, other than a strange-looking RPM gauge, tachometer.
Yeah.
The inside's stock too. So we're going to go all over that. And what do you do for a living?
So I'm a consulting engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, licensed professional. I work essentially with cryogenic processes. Now, not freezing people except by accident.
Okay.
But such thing as air liquefaction, natural gas liquefaction, hydrogen, things like that.
Yeah, so you had obviously the mechanical background to turn the wrenches to build it.
Right. I lack the electrical background to some extent, but
yet here's your electric vehicle.
Other people, well, and largely thanks to EV West.
Yeah.
These people have been providing solutions that were already engineered, that were really easy to implement, and you know, very, very good level of performance.
Well, that's now. Back years ago, I think in 2008, our friend Mike Picard at Thirsty Dirt Ranch made the Electro Willies.
That's right.
And that was basically how many volts?
So it was also 150 volts.
Okay, same idea.
With a net gain DC motor.
Rather than converting to AC.
Rather than converting to AC. And with a lot more in-house engineering. And my hat off to Mike for being one of the pioneers in making an electric Jeep.
Yeah.
That is also four-wheel drive. We're not talking about those people that buy a frame and a body and then, you know, put a direct drive to the rear axle and call it an electric Jeep. That's not
it. No.
We're talking fully functional electric Jeeps.
Right, because he took an M38.
Yep.
And then he first used golf cart batteries, and then he went to lithium batteries years later. But he engineered it all himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
He has been an inspiration throughout this project.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, I did not know Mike. I only met him recently, and I saw electro wheelies. I touched it finally after so many years. But I read a lot about him and about what he's done with electro wheelies, and this was an absolute inspiration.
That's great. Yep. Well, I think what we really need to do is look under the hood.
Fair enough.
All right.
Shall we pop it?
Yep. How about your windshield? Oh, wait. This is a little bit special situation here.
Why?
Well, let's lift it up and show the people. This is probably one of the most unique hood and grille arrangements I've ever seen.
Right.
I mean, fiberglass front ends that fold forward for hot rod hennies and all that. I can't say I've seen one like this.
So, it was a decision about configuring the battery swapping. In the early 2000s, a company in Israel called Better Place had a contract with Renault, the auto manufacturer in France, who built the Fluence ZE that had battery swapping, and you swap the battery from the bottom, which in my opinion makes no sense, because if you have a malfunction, you need to lift the whole car to get the battery out.
True.
So that was a no-go with this Jeep. It had to come from the front, the side, the top, but not the bottom. Second thing is that I wanted the battery to fit under the hood, nothing in the back, so I can retain the full utility of the back.
Right.
And there is no way to get the battery out without messing up the fenders, the flat fenders, which are legendary. So I decided to design it so I can pick it with a forklift, pull it out.
All right, and so it clears. How does it stay down?
So it stays down right now just with this, guys, but you have the weight of the grille and the headlights to pull it down. So,
so this is the replaceable unit right here.
That's the replaceable battery. And with the battery management system attached to the battery, because I want this car to be able to take different battery chemistries, technologies, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's the BMS.
Battery management system.
Yeah, that tells the controller, you know, the state of the battery.
And the controller does exactly what it says. It controls everything. I mean, a regular Jeep nowadays has an ECM and a CPU and everything else. It's all the same function.
Yes.
So people are thinking, oh, well, that's all weird stuff. No, it's not. It's already on every vehicle. But your controller controls the batteries to the motor, which and the accelerator. Yeah, right, because you've got a regenerative braking. That's great. Yeah,
and the controller is SME, so it's an Italian brand. It's an X144 that is paired with a motor. The motor being a NetGain Hyper 9 HV, and this is the solution that was proposed by EV West, which turned out to be phenomenal.
That worked.
Yeah. The part that had to be looked at a second time was the cooling of the controller. Originally, I was using the firewall.
Okay, well, let's go back a little. Sure. Why does the controller need cooling? It's a box. It's electronics.
Yeah, it's electronics, and it's power electronics.
So it generates heat as it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
So to make it last longer and not burn out, you have to dissipate the heat.
Yeah, so the controller has a protection, and then when it gets too hot, it puts the car in limp mode.
Oof, we all know that.
So the controller is really a very good piece of equipment, very mature in technology. And so originally I had the controller stuck to the firewall with some thermal paste, and I ended up overheating the firewall. And anything that's attached to it but I could not cool down the controller enough.
Okay.
So I ended up getting the water-cooled heat exchanger that sandwiches between the controller and the firewall.
Okay.
And I have a little circuit, cooling circuit, using the old space heater for the Jeep, and I use it as a radiator. It's a little bit loud,
but it's the original underdash heater for the Jeep.
That's it.
With hoses going to your little heat exchanger on the controller.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So you're using
tank.
100-year-old technology on this modern stuff.
Well, a 100-year-old technology that works perfectly fine.
Works perfectly fine, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so how are you going to pull this out?
So to pull this out, I have to pull this bolt out, and I have to unplug the BMS right here.
Okay.
And then...
So a bolt and a plug.
A bolt, a plug, and I have pulled this battery, put it back in, I don't know how many times.
So you have your own forklift.
Tens of, oh yeah. $700 on Craigslist.
Nice.
So I do battery swapping in my garage for $700 budget.
That's perfect.
And yeah.
So talking about cost.
Yes.
Okay, not talking about your custom case, but what if I wanted to buy this battery pack? What kind of range am I looking at?
So,
$500? No.
Oh no.
$1,000?
No.
$2,000?
No, more. Probably $12,000 to $15,000.
Okay, so it's out of my range for sure.
So this is a very expensive project.
Yeah.
The whole Jeep. Now, granted that I had people helping me, professionals. I had a couple of people on SolidWorks, which I personally don't know how to use.
But we know it works.
Yep. And I have some friends in Greeley that did all the fabrication for the sheet metal. A lot of the bottom support for the battery is 1/4-inch steel. The top is 16th inch. 8th inch. So they did all the welding. They did a phenomenal job. They also built the adapter from the motor to the bell housing.
Okay.
That's also 1/4-inch steel. So there's a lot of 1/4-inch steel stuff in there that probably is an overkill.
Right.
But with that said, there were costs that are beyond just purchasing the parts.
Right. Okay. There always are.
And so the overall cost for the Jeep was $37,000. All included, including buying the Jeep, which I got it for a song.
Good, good. So, and you sold the engine and other parts to help?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we talking about? Battery life versus range? I mean, range with this, you probably don't have it all dialed in yet.
Not yet. Not yet. It's not all dialed in. It's not optimized for a long range. My guesstimate is 40 to 50 miles between charger. I mean, to deplete the battery completely.
Right.
However, where I live above Boulder, the street going up to my house, I mean the road actually from Boulder to my house is 8 to 10% grade. And so Chick Magnet always goes uphill or downhill. There is no flats.
Got it.
So it's really hard to figure out what the range would be.
Right.
Unless, and I should take the time to drive it down to Boulder and drive it around. I've done it on a couple of occasions, but it's, yeah, that's the test I need to do. And I have not done it yet, to be honest.
Well, that's part of new stuff.
Yeah.
It's like if you drop in a V6 or a Pinto 4-cylinder or whatever, or a small block Chevy, you don't know what you're getting until you drive it long enough to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you can get the same kind of cost by dropping in a fancy Hemi swap and all that. So roughly $35,000 sounds like a lot of money. Nowadays, it's not. Sad to say for a vehicle.
Right.
Yep. And you have the most unique one. Now on the motor to the bell housing.
Yes.
How'd you do that?
All right. So
you got to have something turning on the back of the motor.
yeah. So the motor to the bell housing consists of 2 1/4-inch plates and a piece of pipe. I think it's a schedule 40 pipe that's welded in between. And it's all very precision machined, of course.
Like any adapter should be.
Yeah, and on the motor shaft, on the electric motor shaft, I had a hub, an aluminum hub machined with a little bit of interference fit so that I can heat up the hub, slide it on the motor, and let it cool, and then it's really tight. And of course there is a key in the shaft.
It's keyed anyway, yeah.
And on that hub, I bolt in the flywheel.
The stock 134 Go Devil flywheel.
Yes.
So then behind that you have the stock clutch.
The stock clutch. Everything is stock after that.
That's cool. That's a simple adapter.
Yeah. We have the bell housing, and looking back, it's the original Willys. So we got the T90, we got the Dana 18, we have the parking brake right here. So nothing exotic on that end. Moving forward, we can see the adapter for the motor to the bell housing. It is a 1/4-inch plate right here. We have a skid plate which supports the motor to the original mounting points of the Go Devil.
To the factory motor mount plate. That's awesome.
We have a bracket which is hard to see right here that arches over the motor to support the back of the battery. We have the sled plate for the battery up here that rests on that bracket and on a front bracket right here, which is bolted to the frame rails. And that's about it. I have made some modifications to the brake system. I put in a dual tank master cylinder. There is a valve right here to distribute the brake pressure between the front and the rear brakes.
So you did the dual brake system and front disc brakes just for the safety, so the increased horsepower and torque of the electric motor.
Exactly. And
theoretically, we could pull out this adapter plate and the batteries and the motor and put a Go Devil back in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a nice conversion, I must admit. You have the transmission, the stock location with the stock cross member, the stock motor mount.
Yeah.
That's really nice. And the engine stay cable, whether it's needed or not.
Exactly.
From this angle right here, looking at the flux linkage, everything is stock CJ-2A.
Yeah.
And if I don't look too close at the engine,
Right.
which is a motor,
Yep.
which should be an engine, but it's now a motor, I wouldn't know the difference.
Exactly.
I think you did a fine job on this.
Well, thank you.
Without a doubt.
Thank you.
And the driving it was great.
Thank you.
Plenty of power, spud the tires if you want. You can do a four-wheel burnout if you want on gravel.
On gravel.
Right?
And
Underneath here are your hoses to your heater.
that's the hoses to the heater, yeah.
Right? Yes, if you put that back under the dash, if you have room in the engine compartment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. It's working fine the way it is.
yeah, it sounds like a Jeeper term to me. It's working fine. Yep, I agree. I'd run it.
And so it was a frame out restoration. I took the frame to have it sandblasted, and I rebuilt everything from there. Everything has been sandblasted, repainted, and took care of the rust as much as I could. Brand new suspension.
Did you use different springs up front with more leaves for the weight?
No, and perhaps I should have.
Maybe, but it rides well.
It rides good. It's yeah.
Well, you said you had 40 pounds in the tires for maximum efficiency.
Yeah.
It would drive better, of course, with 20 pounds.
Oh, absolutely, but it would take no power.
Right. Right now, you're working on power.
Yeah. So let's remember that the 500-pound battery pack is the equivalent of 2 gallons of gas. Okay? So,
As far
in terms of energy,
right.
yeah. The advantage is that we use 90% of that 2 gallons of gas, whereas the original engine would use 30% of that 2 gallons of gas.
Right.
So there's a trade-off, but yeah, I'm not going to get 100 miles out of the car quite yet.
Right. Well, I can't wait to see the next iteration.
Yeah.
Right. Probably not optimized for mass distribution yet.
It's not optimized for mass distribution.
But you have the plans.
Yeah. And it took 2 attempts on the adapter. I mean, I wore out an input shaft on the T90 because I had some misalignment.
Oh, yeah.
The first time around. Not that the adapter was improperly fabricated, but I had a little bit of play on the holes, on the matching of the holes with the bell housing. And so there was an ever so small offset.
That's pretty good.
But now it's all shimmed up, and it's a different. The guys in Greeley used a water cutting table, water jet, and so everything is to a T.
It's crazy, but crazy smart.
So there,
I have a golf cart myself, 36 volts, of course. It goes everywhere on the flats I need it to go.
Yeah.
This is what I could use out in the desert.
Absolutely.
So if you ever want to go on a trip, you just come on out to Arizona.
I'll do that. Arizona is a place I really care for.
Yeah,
I really like.
You used to live there, right?
That's right. I lived in Scottsdale for 10 years.
Yeah, so you're used to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, what else do you want to tell us that's important about this that I haven't covered?
So the batteries tend to work better when they're warm. And living up in the Rockies, it's not always the case.
Right.
However, this past February, I took the Willys ice racing in Georgetown, on the Georgetown Lake.
Yeah.
And while I was eliminated early on because of my driving skills or lack thereof on sheer ice, it did really well. And it's fun to spin all 4 wheels when you take off on the ice and start doing donuts and getting lost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the little Willys did awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
So the batteries do work even if it's 20 below and there's a howling wind of 40 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yep, that sounds great. So looking at your interior cockpit, it's very much like a regular stock Jeep, except for a tachometer here.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that. It looks like a GPS. What does this do?
Okay, so this is basically the dashboard for the controller.
Okay.
It came with the SME X144 controller. And it gives me the RPM, the battery, and any alarm I may run into with the motor or the battery.
Right. So when I was driving it, I noticed that it felt like around 1200 RPM, which I could actually read on here.
Yeah.
That's when I should shift from first to second, and then so on and so forth. Is that about right?
Yeah, or you can push it a little bit further. Sometimes I push it to 3000 RPM.
Oh, really? That high?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because the higher the speed means the higher the voltage, therefore the lower the amperage.
And the better the cooling.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like a regular Jeep.
Right.
If you're just idling around, you're going to get hot. You get going some road speed, you're going to cool up, keep the RPMs up. Okay, well, the fun part was your dash gauges.
Yeah.
So, what's that?
That's a fuel gauge. It's an electric gauge. It's actually connected to a little device that measures the current to and from the battery and reflects the state of charge of the battery. I still have to do some tuning to this one.
So in other words, it doesn't work just like a real one.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a regular Jeep.
Exactly.
And then the speedometer, I noticed you have the odometer on there. That's a real cool feature.
Yeah, it's pretty convenient. I replaced it recently this summer, so there are very few miles on it.
Right. And then over here, I noticed both a voltmeter and an ammeter, whereas usually you only have an ammeter.
That's right. That's right. And this is for the house battery, the 12-volt battery that operates only accessories in the Jeep.
Right, because it's a regular 12-volt Jeep in that respect.
Exactly.
The lights and the instruments, etc.
Exactly.
And if you wanted to put a radio or,
right,
a big stereo with a boombox, subwoofers.
And that 12-volt battery is an Earth X. It comes from Colorado.
Yeah.
It's a lithium iron phosphate battery, super light. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Nice. Okay, and then we got the emergency brake, which actually is really, really important.
It is very much so, because I don't have any compression on that electric motor.
So if all of a sudden I put it in reverse, we could move it back and forth because it's in gear,
right?
But it's not hooked to anything that is stationary. So you have to use, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Look at that. It works.
It works good.
Okay.
It has to.
And then, of course, T90, two-wheel, four-wheel. Yep, regular 18, high and low. But what is this fancy switch?
All right. So the electric motor is 108 horsepower, which can be a little bit demanding on the transmission, especially the input shaft of the T90.
Little high, yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is I have the equivalent of a governor in the controller, where I turn down the maximum power to the motor at 65 horsepower, which compares to the Go Devil.
Right, about 60 horse.
Yeah. But now, if I want to have a little fun, or if I'm in a pickle, I can turn on this switch, and that gives me 108 horsepower.
So it nearly doubles it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It doubles the power and the torque.
So for a 16-year-old...
Oh, absolutely. Even myself.
Even yourself. Okay. And then this is originally where the key switch was.
And it will go back there.
And it eventually will. And what's this?
So this is my grandfather's business plate that he used to put on cars he would service or sell.
Wow. And André Tellier.
André Tellier. Yep.
And what year was that?
So that was in the 1930s.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's old. That's the oldest part of this Jeep.
Yeah, and the last bit is the space heater here that used to be on the dash, which is actually my radiator for the water-cooled controller. It's a little bit noisy. It comes on and off by itself, and it can startle people, but it's been working great.
Have you thought about putting it back under the dash?
No, I have not, actually.
Because then it's quieter, and it'll warm your feet up.
Yeah.
In your cold.
A little bit.
Okay, and then underneath, of course.
So underneath, we have the typical toolbox.
Not rotted out anymore.
Not rotted out. Yeah, with the Pinto hook and toe strap and jack and...
Regular Jeep stuff.
Yeah, regular Jeep stuff. I mean, it is every bit a Jeep.
That's really nice. And of course, having the ventilating windshield with all of the factory parts is so cool.
Yeah.
Almost.
The thumb
Screw's gone. Right. That's great.
At the engine, in a way.
So you got gas struts to hold it up.
Yeah.
Ah, perfect.
All right. So this little bottle here is the expansion jug for the coolant for the controller.
Just like a regular Jeep.
Right. I have my USB connection to the controller so that I can monitor everything from a computer.
What about the duct tape?
The duct tape part here, this is a heater for planters to keep the battery at a certain temperature when I go ice racing.
Right, because as the temperature decreases,
Yeah.
so does the battery efficiency.
Exactly.
So if you heat it up,
Yeah, without going too crazy because it's a
Right.
lithium ion, but it helps restore some power.
and it's kind of hard to see behind here. Is there anything interesting back there?
Yeah, so we have a 600 amp fuse right here, and back there is the controller. It's the SME X144 controller.
The actual controller.
Yeah, and otherwise it's just terminal strips.
Then on the front, of course, this is your
So
bolt to take out the whole unit.
yeah, the bolt to take out. This is the connector for the battery management system that goes back to the dashboard and the controller I showed you earlier.
Here's where your forklift goes in.
Yes, sir.
Standard size,
Yep.
but precision made. So when the battery unit goes in, the connectors plug in.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
like a-
that has a very tight level of tolerance.
Right, just like a regular, even a cell phone battery.
Yeah.
Anything you use, it has to be just right.
And so looking here, you can see a little bit of behind the main terminals. You can see the electric motor in the back. There's the electric motor. It's net gain, Hyper 9, high voltage.
So that was
All
the
right.
backup light.
Yeah, but the backup lights don't work because I can't put a switch on the T90 transmission, and I don't want to mess with it.
Okay, well what you can do is put a T86 shift tower on it, which will
Whoa.
fit, change the fork, and it has a place for a backup switch.
Oh,
So it'll work.
Good.
Yep,
Well,
so there's
thank
your
you.
hot tip today.
Thank you so much.
But now we know what they come from. So, I'm
Yeah.
Rick Péwé for Gone Cheapin'. I'm here with Nils Tellier. That's a perfect way to say it. And we're going to leave you till next time, but make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Gone Cheapin'. And we'll see you next time for even more unique vehicles. I don't know how. We're giving it a try.
Thank you.